men require, and I'm sure people require, finishing. He goes, and finishing most of the time requires leaving home. And there were 4 like categories he gave us. He was like, okay, some people get finishing through college. Some people get finishing through the military. Okay. Some people get finishing through streets. And some get finishing through prison.
Wow.
He goes, each one of these will give you finishing.
Wow.
Right? But college actually requires the one thing that others necessarily don't, which is discipline. So like college and the streets require discipline, whereas the military and prison, you will get discipline.
Today we're going to talk about prepping your kid for college and how's it going.
I thought we talked about this already.
No, we're not talking about the like packing and all of that. We're actually talking about the details that you're going through on a daily basis with Michael, the meetings, and how you went from saying, you know, hey, make sure you're doing this to, okay, I need to do something different. And you did something different and it's working. So,
yeah,
discuss.
So unfortunately, maybe my expectation was that I could give you, turn the headlights on so that you know what's coming, and your own internal kick would kick in, and you would handle the details. But that's not happening. It had not happened. There's too many things missed. So I've had to make a once a day standing meeting. With the laptop, with the email, with the folder, with all the classwork, and every day we just ironed it out from top to bottom. Did any new information get presented? Did any new communication come in? Where are we on the deadlines? Pushing through.
And it's funny because what you're doing right now, like I noticed probably yesterday, Mike started to come down, because in the very beginning it was rough. Like you would say, okay, we're going to have a standing meeting every day at 10 a.m. And at 10:45, you'd be texting him and he's asleep. Or at 10:30, you text him and then he comes down at 10:45. And then he wants to make breakfast. And now it's gotten to the point where you've been consistent enough where he's actually coming downstairs at 9:59. I see him with his laptop and I'm like, wow, it's really starting to work.
So it does work, but it's not like the cover story. It's not like the headline you present, right? There's a carrot and a rod, okay?
Okay.
So like the incentives are there, and then there really is no rod except for the incentives disappear.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the rod. Like I will grant you the incentives, which in my case are like unlimited access to all the entertainment crap that he wants to do with all his time anyway. And that will disappear. That'll evaporate quickly. When you're late.
Okay. Now, see, I didn't know that, but it's good to see that he's gone from, just not remembering and constantly having to be reminded to now I see him coming downstairs.
Right.
That's fantastic. And that's, to me, that's a huge step.
Right. And the bad part about it, from my perspective, is, see, all that ends on August 13th.
Right.
Like on first day drop off, it's like, there is no more carrot. There is no more short-term carrot and rod, right? There's only the semester-long carrot and rod.
Right.
And by the time you get deep into a semester, if you haven't been doing the dailies, then you end up in a real bad place.
Yeah.
So that's concerning. Like, ideally, I would like it to be where I didn't have to do all that, because I'm not going to be doing that when you're away.
Right.
But the consequences of operating the way that pre these meetings means you come home and you're amongst the graduation rate in colleges is like 42%, 45%. So you end up in that 60 or 55%, if you don't show up daily. And that's the part.
Two things. One you touched on, which was what happens August 14th after we're gone and, he's on his own. But the other thing is, I just kind of wanted to say, in another one of our videos, we were talking about the egg timer. And this has become 17 years, 16 years later, the next egg timer. Like I'm going to make sure that I am available for him every morning at 10 a.m. And I'm going to make sure that he's there by presenting this carrot and rod, if that's what you want to call it. That is the next egg timer. So it's kind of advice from us saying that the egg timer doesn't go away. It just, put it in the drawer because you're going to need it again. Once you became consistent, he became consistent.
But see, the thing is, I've always been consistent, meaning I've always been available, and to a fault. Maybe if I was less available, that's a thing. But I'm always available. So maybe if I only had like office hours.
It's never about your availability. You're always available. We're always available. It's about them coming to us. And so you've had to make it so that he, with the carrot, has to come down on a regular basis. And you have to set the time. That is the egg timer, just in a different way.
Right.
And, who knew that at 18 we'd be using that again? But clearly here we are. There are times when you're just like, there's no way, I should never have to do that. But if the circumstance presents itself, it is what it is. So like, yeah, you shouldn't have to do it, but you do have to do it. So just suck it up and get it done. And that's where you guys are right now. Yeah.
This you're right. And this all reminds me of an Uncle Juan parable.
Okay.
Right. So I remember him telling me that men require, and I'm sure people require, finishing. He goes, and finishing most of the time requires leaving home. And there were 4 like categories he gave us. He was like, okay, some people get finishing through college or other education, like going to a trade school or something. Some people get finishing through the military. Okay. Some people get finishing through streets, and some get finishing through prison. Wow. He goes, each one of these will give you finishing. Wow. Right? But college actually requires the one thing that others necessarily don't, which is discipline. So like college and the streets require discipline, whereas the military and prison, you will get discipline.
This is true.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
So college actually is like one of the hardest finishing schools, along with the streets, right? And so that's my concern, which is like, if I'm the one, like there's external discipline put on the boy to do what he's got to do. That's not a win college mentality. That is maybe you would function better in a military setting where there's external discipline put on you and you just have to fit.
Yeah.
So there are better and worse choices in those 4, but it's just an anecdote that he told me so many years ago that's coming to light right now in this moment.
Interesting. Can I just say, last night when Amir went to leave the house, he walks out the house and I said, okay, I'll see you later, I love you. And he says to me as he walks out the door, make good choices. I said, wow.
Right. That's good. That's really good.